Hey friends, Chris here with Little Roots Ranch, and today is May 6th, and happy May. Oops, I keep hitting the trellis. Happy May. I'm out here in the greenhouse. It's an overcast day, which is perfect for hardening off, by the way, any plants or anything like that. I've got my tomato cages flanking me everywhere. I do have my tomatoes out in the greenhouse. But I don't have my tomatoes out in the actual outside. And the reason for that is because the greenhouse does an excellent job of making it really warm in here, specifically when the sun's out. When an overcast day like this, the inside temperature doesn't differ much from the outside temperature. But what it does do, especially on sunny days, is it increases the temperature of the ground. And that's really nice because it holds it a little bit longer. Right in the morning before sunrise, the ground temperature does go down, but for the most part, it helps hold it. And that's why I'm able to have tomatoes out already. I think I put mine out within the last 1 to 2 weeks. And then I think I finished the last few, just I think on Friday or Wednesday or something like that. But that's something that May is known for. May is when you transplant out. If you haven't, again, it depends on your microclimate, and I'll say more on that in just a second. But May is where you transplant out a lot of your heat-loving crops. I think and that includes like your tomatoes, celery, peppers, tomatillos, eggplants, basil, basically a lot of different things, and regular plants as well too. Those are just the ones that absolutely love the warm, hot weather and just don't do well when we have 30-degree nights. And I was talking about, I think Mother's Day is kind of the date that everyone associates with planting out and stuff like that. But honestly, that's an excellent reference and it's easy to remember, but it really does depend on your microclimate. And that has that includes like small things like if you live like more in the south of the Pacific Northwest, like the closer to the equator you are, it's probably going to be warmer than how north you are. Your elevation, like if you're in a mountain, it's going to be colder, and the coldest, I should say. And then if you're right by the coast like I am, it's a little bit cooler. And then if you're inland a little bit, it's generally a little bit warmer. And then there's like big things like if you're like, I live in rural Stanwood, and so it's always going to be cooler here than if I lived on like a heat island like Seattle or any major city or hub or anything like that. And in between would be obviously suburban areas. But just by like, if you take Seattle, for instance, all the buildings and cars and houses and businesses and industry and all that stuff, all of those things are producing heat. And so it's not like, it's 60 degrees here and 180 there or something, but it does make a difference of, like 5, maybe 10 degrees or even a couple degrees. And that matters to the plants, and so you have more concrete and things like that. So when you decide, I guess only you can decide when you put your plants out, because it really does depend on what your soil temperature, your sun exposure, and kind of where you're at. But in general, Mother's Day is a really good idea. And of course, it depends on whether you have a greenhouse or some kind of like caterpillar tunnel or cloche or anything to help protect them to make that transition easier, or if you're just putting them straight outside. It also depends on what kind of cultivars you have. Like for me personally, I always, when I'm looking at all of the descriptions for whichever seed catalog I'm looking at, I always look for performs in cool weather or growth in anything that references or great for short seasons. Even though we technically have a long season, we have a short, warm season, if that makes sense. And so I always look for those things. So I always buy tomatoes that are more primed for our growing area, and so they can withstand being outside earlier, that develop for our area. Like my cherry tomatoes are Washington cherries, or Washington cherry tomatoes or something like that. And they were developed by, or bred by, Washington State University to be well adapted in our area. And so this is my first year growing them. So I don't have any feedback or anything yet, but I saw that and I was like, well, if I'm going to find a cherry tomato that's going to be perfect for our area, I feel like that should be the best. And so, but I'm also growing sun gold, which is a staple in almost every garden. You know, everyone just loves the sun gold cherry tomatoes. But anyways, what I was saying though is that Mother's Day is generally the day that everyone associates with planting things out. And that kind of really does a turn for when I notice that we always have a really heavy rainstorm every like May 5th through 7th, which yesterday was the 5th, and it just poured and poured and poured. I did transplant a bunch of strawberries and I'm looking at them and they loved that rain. But my chickens don't, because their coop has a lot of big puddles. So it'll dry up and, you know, over today. But I always find that we have a really heavy rain at the beginning of May, and then the weather kind of switches and we get a little bit of warmer weather. And so that's about when, you know, we're not seeing nights in the 30s anymore. We're not seeing frost or anything. I mean, with the way our weather's been, I guess anything's possible, but I think we're in the clear or confident that we're in the clear. And so, you know, obviously I have my tomatoes out and I need to start the process of hardening off my peppers and getting them prepared. What's also exciting, I was kneeling down too long. Oh, now I need to adjust the camera. Hold on. Okay. Go back. There we go. And so another thing about May that's really exciting is that it's kind of the last push of restraints on when you can start things, you know, because you've had the green light on root vegetables like radishes, turnips, carrots, beets. You've had the green lights on greens, lettuce, kale, cole crops or brassicas, cauliflower, cabbage, all those things. And then you've started inside, you know, tomatoes, peppers, this, that, and the other. Hopefully at the end of April, early May, you've waited for your cucumbers and your squashes and things like that. But this is the actual time where it's great to plant everything. So for me, I started my cucumbers about a week ago. It was like the last day in April, and I started them in a 50 cell tray out here in the greenhouse, and so they're just starting to poke through right now. I have not started my squash, which includes summer or winter yet, or my pumpkins or my beans, or my corn. But all of those things, so squash, pumpkins, which I guess those go together, but I always say them separate, beans, corn, and who am I missing? Oh, sunflowers, I guess. But cucumbers, corn, beans. I think that's everybody. Those are excellent to get started right now. Early May and all through May, you know, if you don't have them in yet, you know, no worries. But corn, I would say, is one of the ones that I would get more on. Like if you're a little behind on planting, I would get on your corn and I would get on your dry beans. If you're growing runner beans for fresh eating or canning or whatever, those are still fine. But with the dried beans, you want to get them in, get them growing, get them ripe, and then get them drying before it rains, the fall rains come in, and then so that way they don't get moldy as well. And then same thing with corn. Corn is really long season, but also so are the winter squashes and the pumpkins and things like that. But so I plan to, today is May 6th, I plan to do, hopefully today, if not tomorrow, to do my winter squashes, my summer squashes. I already have my cucumbers. I don't think I'm gonna get to my beans till like next week, because I'm gonna trellis them with poles, and I need to get the poles in, and then I'll plant them around the poles. And this year, I've started them in little pots and transplanted them out historically. I think I'm just gonna double the seed density, if not triple. I ordered a lot more seed, and I'm just gonna put them out because little critters and pests and things like that, like any of those things, right? Beans, carrots, pumpkin seed, those are all things that we eat in that form, you know? And so the birds, meandering chickens, insects, rodents, rabbits, you know, everybody will love to pull those out of the ground. And I struggled a lot with planting them and being unhappy when nothing's coming up, or I'll plant like 5 seeds and only get 1 that germinates. And so before, I used to take that away and start them inside the greenhouse or inside my house or on top of something that nothing could crawl in on. But what I found, for me at least, to be the most convenient is to just double or triple plant. I understand that that doesn't work for everybody, but I did that with my peas this year. If you guys have followed me for a while, you know that every year I have trouble with my peas getting taken by everything in the world. Well, this year I just planted like 3 times as many. And so the stuff that they took leaves me with the number that I actually wanted anyways. So, and it was a lot less work for me. I did grow the peas in the gutters, which I think worked fabulous, but it was a lot of extra work. And depending on your schedule and if you have time, and personally, I don't, you know, I've got so many things to do. And so if I can trim, you know, 10 minutes here, 30 minutes there, whatever, then that's a win-win for me. So that's what I'm going to do with my beans. But all that to say is that you can start all of those things at any time. I haven't started them yet, but I'm hoping to get them. Like I said, did cucumbers about 5 days ago. This weekend I'll do all of my pumpkins and squashes, and then hopefully, and corn. I need to figure out exactly where I'm going to put that. Oh, as a note on corn. So I think one thing that I always find interesting is corn is one of those items, much like carrots, that I don't believe that you can do whatever you want, obviously, but I don't believe that those should be sold as transplants, because I feel like they don't set the receiving gardener up for success. So I'll see corn in like a solo cup that's like a foot tall or whatever, and I'm like, boy, I don't think that that's really going to produce, you know, like, because especially with how extensive a corn, like they're in the grass family, right? And so they have like a grass, like matted root system, and they really need to spread out and to be able to, you know, whatever. And so then when you get a reduction of corn's so amazing, you don't want that. That being said, as you guys know, I personally start my corn in trays and transplant it out. The difference is that if you start your corn in a cell, you want to transplant it the second that it is like 1 inch tall, like right away. I think it's 4 days. I'll have to check my notes. I don't remember if it's 4 or 5, but it's from the moment that it emerges through the soil. Within 4 days, I have that into the ground. And that does make it a little more complicated, because if you do grow stuff in cell trays and transplant them out, what makes them easy to transplant is the fact that you can, like, the roots envelop like the soil, compost, whatever growing medium, and so you can like push the bottom and kind of give a little tug, and the whole thing comes out in like a nice neat plug. When you are doing corn, if you choose direct sowing, is always the best. It's always going to be a healthier plant, no matter what you're talking about. You just cannot beat. Every transplant will ruin roots. That's just the way it happens. You always have a healthier plant if you direct sow, all of that stuff. But if you're wanting to transplant with the corn, when you're transplanting at under 4 days, or right at the 4th day or whatever, you're only going to have like a small root system. And so it's very common that when I'm, even me trying to be so sensitive, delicate, whatever, pulling it out, and a lot of times I won't get an actual plug. It's just that little corn will come out with like a little root coming down. And so, and I just take that and put that in the ground and pat it down and make sure the soil contact is good with the entire root system, even if it's small. And I've never had a problem. I grow corn taller than me. It's literally, I don't know, my land grows really well, really great corn. But I don't always recommend that unless you already have your area ready. You know that you can for sure get that moved in 4 days, because the longer that it sits in a container and those roots are stunted, it's always, you're going to have problems down the road. And I want you to be set up for success. And so I want, whether you're growing it or purchasing it, I don't want you to get something that you're going to be disappointed in later, because that's going to make you not want to garden. Speaking of buying transplants, it's that time of year that if you're not starting your own seeds, which is totally fine, by the way, especially if you're a new gardener, or any kind of limitations or anything like that, I think it's 1,000,000% fine to purchase the transplants from either local gardeners, master gardeners, high school, if they have a horticultural program, ours does, or even the retail stores and even the big box stores. I mean, there's a hierarchy, of course, small farms, home gardeners, things like that, extensions, or different like horticultural groups. I feel like those will kind of be at the top. And, I always try to, I personally try to support local first. And so that's something that appeals to me. But if you're buying, your tomatoes, peppers, things like that, right now is a perfect time to go and purchase those transplants. Also pay attention to what kind of conditions they're in now. If you go to a nursery and they've got tomato plants and the tomatoes are out in the sun, then you know that those tomatoes, and you can also ask, of course, but those tomatoes have probably gone through the hardening off process and things like that. If you're buying from a fellow gardener, then you want to ask, like, has this been hardened off, or what's the process, or whatever it may be. But so I covered all the stuff in May that's new that you can seed. And so just to recap, that's your squashes, pumpkins, cucumbers, corn, sunflowers, a lot of the heat loving like zinnias, things like that. I feel like I'm missing something. Corn. No, I think I got everything. And then everything else, basically, you can just continue to grow outside. Like if you have lettuce that you overwintered or that you planted really early, excuse me, and you're wanting a next rotation to go in or something like that, you can plant all your lettuces directly outside, all your greens, all your brassicas or cole crops, or basically everything. Once it comes to May, you're wide open, and which is really exciting, so that's pretty much it. Let me check. Oh, just a quick snippet. I say it every time, but hardening off, I talked about it earlier. Hardening off is where you every plant that is started indoors is tender. It doesn't matter if it's generally a hardy plant, like say kale or something like that. It's tender if it's started inside. And so you have to slowly acclimate it to the outside by bringing it out on, say, an overcast day and stuff like that. And I have other videos on that, but I just want to make sure I mention it. If you're sitting there being like, oh, what's hardening off? Like, definitely look that up, because that's something you want to do. You don't want to spend all those months babying your seedlings inside and then bring them out and the sun just eats them alive, because that'll happen. And even if your plant lives, they're surviving and thriving, right? And you want your plants to thrive. Let me see. Just checking. Yep, I covered all of my notes. So I will let you go, so that way you can get to focusing on your transplants and starting all your seeds and all that stuff. But thank you for watching. If you have any questions about May gardening or anything like that, or you just want to share where you're at or things like that, or tips for everyone else, because we're all in the Pacific Northwest for the most part, drop those down below, and have a great day. And warm weather's coming. Bye.